Hey, what's good, everybody? Welcome to the live session with the Hype Magazine. I'm your editor-in-chief, Dr. Jerry Doby, and today, I have this amazing young lioness on the line with me by the name of Che Noir. She just dropped a powerful new project called The Color Chocolate 2. Uh, Now, Che Noir is one of the most commanding voices in today's East Coast hip hop. She's a gifted storyteller and a producer from Buffalo, New York. She returns with The Color Chocolate 2, a bold follow-up that fuses gritty sonics, introspective bars, and collaborations with, LZ, Sun Little, and Evidence. And the standout track, this is my opinion. New Beginning is deeply personal to her. It's written with hopes of motherhood. She's a new mother. The song carries a brand new weight as Che Noir recently welcomed a child into the world. Uh, Obviously, we're catching up with her right now, this rising icon, to discuss her brand new project, her creative independence, and what legacy looks like in her own words. So, welcome, Che. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you. All right. So I give my little spiel, right? But I want to start off and get it from you. From the inside looking out, how do you see the personality Che Noir, aside from motherhood, just the entertainment industry personality?
My personality, I would say shy, a little standoffish in ways, but dedicated, hard worker, hustler. I like to have fun. I'm a little silly. I have my moments,
There you
a
go.
good sense of humor. But yeah, just dedicated, very wise. Um, yeah, that's what I would say.
Okay, okay. Now I like, strangely enough, I like these producers from Buffalo. The real schizo, I rock with him. He's out of Buffalo as well.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
you have this power as well with this insight within the levels. You know, Shrek say, "Oh, you got layers, man." This dynamo right here. Let me just not fanboy out real quick.
Mm-hmm.
So was there a benchmark moment when music just reached out and grabbed you and said, "Yeah, you belong to me. Come on, let's go."
Um, yeah, it started when I want to say I was like 14. I started, and it wasn't something I ever seen myself doing before that. It just kind of like it was a passion that I discovered. A friend of mine in high school gave me a little jump drive that had the Fruity Loops program on there. So
Okay,
like when I downloaded that at home and I got acquainted with it, it was one of the things where I was like, oh, I got addicted to it. It was one thing I was doing. I get out of school and I just go and in my mom's attic and I would just work on this program making beats all day and night.
right.
And I became obsessed with it. And I would say that was like kind of like the first point where I felt like, okay, this is, I have a passion
Okay,
for this. Well, I would say I'm gonna take that back. I would say that was a turning point for where I seen I had an interest in it.
okay.
Passion for me came when it was years had went by. I want to say I was like maybe 20, 21,
Mhm.
and I started spending money and going on trips to
Okay,
fund this interest that I had.
okay.
Um, and I wouldn't say the passion was still there even at that point. Passion to me, I seen the passion when I quit my job.
Mm,
And I just, I had graduated from college and everything. I quit my job. I said, screw the degree. And I said, I'm going to do music.
mm.
And for me, that showed how passionate I was about it because you can be passionate about something, or you can actually, something can be a hobby, but you may not be passionate. Passion drives you to do things that seems a little unorthodox,
Mm.
in
Right,
order
right.
to feed that passion. And that's what I did. So yeah, that's when the passion scene. And that was more so like 2019. That was 6 years ago. 6 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, 6 years ago now, June 2019. That was the last time I ever worked a job. I have not worked a job in 6 years. So,
All right.
that was a turning point.
Hey, the hobby that pays you, the passion that pays you, and the results that continue to drive you, whether it's self-satisfaction or the accolades from like Rolling Stone and all that good stuff. If it's not satisfying to you, obviously you wouldn't probably still continue. So
Hmm.
uh, you've gone on your on this journey. You said that new beginning carries even more meaning for you now after becoming a mom.
Hmm.
So how did your personal journey like shape the writing and the release of the track?
It was one of those tracks that I had wrote and started working on kind of like when I had found out I was pregnant. And I actually had a scrape. There was a song that I didn't plan on putting out.
Mm.
Um, it was one of those moments when I did have my daughter. Or actually, it was before I had her when I turned it in. But it was like just one of the moments where having her going through the experiences of pregnancy, finding out because I thought I was having a boy for months, and then I found out having a girl and going through the emotions of okay, my first child being a girl, and going through those emotions of when I was young and wanting to shield her from things I went through and giving her the things some of the things I had and some of the things, a lot of the things I didn't have.
Right.
And, all of that started going through my mind. As a woman, this is something that us women go through carrying a child. It's very different, when you're carrying the child, what it does to you emotionally, I would say. And yeah, it was something that was just like, for me, I've always been a hustler, but it's just on a different level of beyond the type of providing financially that I wanted to give her. It was more so like just emotionally and the growth that I want to, have for myself for her because, the financial part that's always taken care of. But I think in that moment, I was like, I want to be a better person for my daughter.
Mm.
That song to me displays so much growth in myself as an artist.
Mm.
And, I wanted to show that example so that's a lot of the reason what contributed to me just finally releasing the song.
Okay. And beyond the artistic growth, that's like some grown people processing going on in there outside
Hmm.
of the entertainment industry. You know, I got some
Hmm.
gray. I've been through some processing myself. I've been through some processing,
Hmm.
but nobody
Hmm.
understands. But anyway, um, you're known for producing much of your own work. Um,
Hmm.
and you just indicated that you had done this joint prior to the birth of your child. Um, so what kind of headspace, you know, were you in creatively while building the colored chocolate too?
Type of headspace I was in. I was working on so many different projects.
Uh,
Like the way I work is never one thing I'm focused on at one time. I've never been like that. I've tried to, but it never works out that way for me, at least. So I've learned to adjust that this is just how I have to do my creative process. It's never just one project at a time. It's always multiple. That's just how my workload is. So for me, I record a bunch of music, but all the music that I record doesn't belong on the same album. They don't belong in the same neighborhood.
right, right.
So, um, how I group it is, a lot of music I recorded for Color Chocolate was music I was recording at the same time on my last album that I put out, The Lotus Child, that I put out last year.
Mhm.
And a lot of the music that, some of the music that was on Color Chocolate just didn't fit in the same neighborhood as the music on that.
Mhm.
So that's how a lot of it works out for me. I have so many projects coming out this year just alone, and that's how I've always grouped it. So my creative process is always like I just go with what feels right with the beat and
Mhm.
where I'm at in my life. If I'm going through some stuff, I'm gonna talk about it. If I'm happy, I'm gonna talk about it. If anything I'm going through, like I have an album that's coming out next month, and I'm giving a lot of financial game on there. And a lot of that's because at the time when I was writing it, I was making a lot of financial moves that I had never made before that. Just little things that I was learning that I applied to my finances that I feel like as an artist it's beyond just putting words together, it's also educating your listeners. So these are things that I speak about now. So it's really just about where I'm at in my life.
Mm. I love that. That's a different level of authenticity. It ain't I don't know, some of the cookie cutter stuff that's coming, just drives me nuts. I'd rather just listen to the track and not hear the artist because first of all, I'm from that life way back when, and I know what they're saying doesn't make sense, uh, even in this day and age. But so you got some major features, powerful voices on this one with you. Like, what did those collabs bring out of you lyrically or emotionally?
Um, I mean, I got, the two rappers I got on there is Elzai and Love the Genius. Like, anytime I work with Love the Genius, it's like a fire fest. We always going back and forth with our words, and it's fun. It's fun every time. So it's always just like, I get to kind of like be a little more laid back working with her because I've worked with her so many times already. But that was my first time working with Elzai, so I didn't really know what to expect, but he came with a crazy verse. And he just always dropped game, always dropped knowledge. I've always been a fan.
Mm,
So but and I've always wanted to work with him, but like I said, I go off of feel. Like if the track doesn't feel like it sounds like something he can get on, I won't send it.
mm,
This was one of them tracks where I was like, I could hear him on here.
mm.
And that's when that's why I reached out.
Okay. That sounds like fun putting this stuff together. This is like
Yeah.
the thing. Um, now I don't know a lot about your body of work over the years, but I did enjoy the joint. And I did some research and I'm like, okay, why have I not heard of this person before? And maybe it's because I'm a West Coast cat and I kind of lean that way, but
Mhm.
um I did Griselda, right? And so
Mhm.
your voice, your presentation has kind of been um said to evoke the 90s style boom bap. And then they draw comparisons to like the Griselda crew. How do you keep your voice distinct within like this sonic lane?
I just be myself. All of us, like Griselda, the whole Griselda crew, all of us, we're all from Buffalo.
Right.
Buffalo is Buffalo is still very much very gritty, very old school. Um, you know, and we've been like this forever, even when things, I would say, even within the industry started changing, Buffalo was always gritty
Mm,
because this grit that you hear wasn't always something that was popular. Like, that just wasn't the sound for
mm,
a while. I know because like I commuted from here to Atlanta and even this New York City, even people in New York City wasn't really doing with, that particular sound,
right.
that New York City is known for East Coast.
Mm,
But that was always a thing up here in Buffalo. And that's because like Buffalo is still very gritty. It gets cold.
mm,
We get some of the craziest snowstorms up here. And, it's still very much a very much segregated city, very much still impoverished in a lot of areas, especially areas I grew up in. The drugs is still a issue. Violence is still an issue here. Um, poverty, all of those things. So we're all influenced by that in certain ways, whether you was directly being involved in it or you were a victim to it, being, just around in those areas. I mean, you were, you have no say so of where you are born into and the things you come up around. But we all pull things from that because we are from that. But I think with me, just staying authentically myself, I speak about experiences um that I've directly seen and been through myself. And I speak from a place also of a woman that, was trying to be outside the box. I heard a Kendrick verse where he was talking about like I spent my whole life thinking out the box. And it's the same way I was. Like I went to college. I just had my first kid at 31 years old. And, I don't come up really in a family where that's normalized because a lot of women in my families had kids as teenagers.
ah,
I took a different route and and self-educated myself and learned a lot of things from my surroundings too as well. But um, it's just about, like, for me, I just stay myself. Like I said, we all pull things from different experiences because we are from Buffalo.
Yeah.
Most of us that's from Buffalo, whether it's Griselda or any other Buffalo artist, we're from the East Side. It's either the East or the West, but all of us are really from the East Side. So, and the East Side is still, like I said, even still to this day, is still a mess. So, just pulling from that, but being myself with it and not trying to be anything that I'm, not trying to be something I'm not.
So I got to ask this. I got to follow up on that one. The east and west side of town, right? So when I was coming up, if you are from the east side of the tracks, that was where we were at. You know what I mean? And the west side of the tracks was where the Whoopis and everybody else hung out.
Mhm,
You know what I mean? And to hear you tell me that Buffalo is still very much divided along those lines,
mhm,
I'm like in 2025. Now, the snowstorm thing didn't surprise me. I was en route to Afghanistan and we flew across uh we flew across there. You guys had just hit like 55. This was '09. So you guys had like a 55-inch snowstorm.
mhm,
And when we flew over to Buffalo, we were just getting ready to cross into Canada because you guys are on the northwest, the furthest northwest, right?
mhm,
Um, yeah, the heater in my engine in the plane engine went down, and we couldn't
mm,
find anywhere to land, so we flew with one engine back to Alabama.
mm,
That was my experience with Buffalo. I'm like, okay, well, I got delayed. I don't have to hit Afghanistan for like another couple of weeks while they repair this
mhm,
plane. But I remember that 55 inches. I'm like, people can't get out of their homes. You couldn't get out your
mhm.
front door, digging out. I'm like, what the heck?
It was just one that was really bad that we had like 2 years ago. Like,
Right.
it was people who died from that. Like that one, it was so bad. Yeah.
That was so to get a chance to talk to somebody from Buffalo, like I
Hmm.
said, I've only met, one other person face to face from Buffalo and
Hmm.
telling the same story. Um, anyway, but the historical fact that throughout the United States, the East West, the railroad tracks divided the East and
Hmm.
West side of town. I'm 62. To see that it's still going on 2025, 62 years later is,
Yeah.
yeah, it's wild. Um,
Mhm.
and I had heard about it, that you mentioned the segregation and things like that, and those
Hmm.
those realities. I'm like, really? In New
Yeah,
York?
it's just still very much segregated. It's racist. It's pretty go to certain side
That's
parts of
all of it
Buffalo, it's
is.
still very racist. Like, it's still, it's just, we just still deal with that. I mean, Buffalo, the east side wasn't, I would say certain parts of the east side, like if you go to Bailey area, Bailey, like when my mom and them was coming up, was like, a lot of middle class, upper class people who lived in Bailey. Like that's why their houses are so beautiful over there.
Mhm.
Of course that, was a different thing during my era. That part of town wasn't really considered that anymore. But even like Cheektowaga, when I was coming up, Cheektowaga was like looked at as a suburb. It's not even, I don't look at Cheektowaga as a suburb anymore.
Ah,
So, that's just how it is.
okay, okay. Cliche question, probably, but gotta ask because I don't get an opportunity to talk to many women in hip hop as much, especially that are like uh multifaceted, not only the artist but the producer as well, and highly respected and heavily talked about, critically acclaimed, shall we say. Um, what has being a woman in hip hop taught you about resilience and authenticity in a, often male dominated space?
Um, it taught me a lot. It taught me how much strength a woman holds in this industry if she knows that she has that strength. Now, when a lot of women are not keen to that, that's how they become puppets and they're controlled by men who
Mhm.
create the image. See, I knew what I was coming into. I knew my worth coming into the situations that I came into. So I wasn't allowing anyone to tell me how to look or how to dress or what to rap about. I rapped about what I wanted to rap about. I dressed how I wanted to dress. At the end of the day, I am a regular human being. I'm no different than anybody. We all bleed at the end of the day. Even these celebrities, they're no different. They bleed just like us, and we all have one thing in common as a human race, that we will perish one day. So that doesn't make you above anyone because of that one thing right there.
Mm,
So it's one thing that I came into it like knowing my worth. I think as a woman, because it's such a male dominated industry, you know, women more so have to come in knowing their worth more than any man, because it's so male dominated, and men, too many men, and this isn't just a historical thing, it's too many men dictating and telling women how to look, and you know pretty much controlling their image. That's been a thing.
mm,
But I think that's what it really taught me, like to know my worth. And I came into it knowing that. So I wasn't controlled and told what to do. It's a lot of women you'll see, and I've been face to face with a lot of women, like, A-list celebrities. And I'm like, I could tell she is not comfortable rapping like that. So
mm,
it's a thing where I just knew this is, I'm gonna do what I want to do. I'm gonna rap about what I want to rap about.
mm,
And being me is the biggest contributor to my success, because I didn't realize, I can be honest and say that I didn't think my style of rap would generate income for me. I just knew it would be like, this will forever probably be a hobby for me. But
mm.
um, I have a whole fan base, and it's something, and it came from me just being myself, looking at women like Rhapsody. Like, she's a very, very successful in her lane. And that inspired me, because I was in college when I got keen to Rhapsody. And I was like, dang, if she could do that, she got Grammy nominations, she got record deals. Or, at the time when I was thinking about record deals, now I'm just real independent based. I'm on that train forever. But like, but even how she moves about things, I think she's independent now. And,
Oh,
I just seen her do something
sorry.
I just seen her do something with Madlib where they did like a straight to vinyl type of album. And I'm like, yeah, that's some independent like stuff right there.
That's
So,
it. That's it.
I think that's where I got my resilience from. But like, just knowing your worth. As a woman coming in this industry, you gotta know your worth, or you're gonna be controlled by these men.
Mm. Well, you have by sticking to your guns, so to speak, and you're exhibiting your intestinal fortitude the way you have throughout the journey. You've earned mad respect, across the indie rap world. But I would like to get your thought on what does success look like for you now, compared to when you dropped Poetic Thoughts in 16.
You said, what does success look like?
Yeah, what the
Um,
difference
oh,
there
it's so
then?
different.
Yeah.
It's so different. Like I said, I thought for years I had to sign a deal. That's a lot of the reason why, or I would say that's a lot of what took me so long to really like jump into it and be passionate about it, because I thought that's what I had to do. It wasn't until I got around Spesh and I seen he's like, you can make the money doing this and you ain't gotta go do that. And I had people paying me, like at the time, I had people paying me $20 for a verse, and I was a nobody at the time. Nobody knew who I was.
Mm,
And I'm like, you paying me $200? You don't even know who I really am? Like, you just, doing this off the strength? I said, oh yeah, I could do this independent thing. Like, I started getting vinyl deals. I seen that it takes a minute. It took me about 5 years to like really solidify my foundation
hmm
with music. But once I figured out the different streams and avenues of income within it, that's when I kind of was like, oh yeah, this is what success looks like. Success is when you could pay your bills off of what you're passionate about.
mm.
And once I was able to do that, that's what success was for me. Not signing a record deal and being the most famous person in the world. There's a lot of people who are not in this lane that still don't understand that, because I still get people who be like, you just need this look or you just need that. And I'm like, do you not realize I have not worked a job in 6 years? That is successful to me. Like, I don't know how you can, like, I don't know how it's people who have record deals. I've literally seen work jobs still
Several,
with record deals.
several. You can see them at
Like,
McDonald's and the shoe store.
listen, I've seen them still work jobs. So I haven't worked one in 6 years. can't convince me that that's not success, because a lot of these opinions come from people who still work jobs. Like, if you had an opportunity not to work and have to ever work again, you wouldn't care how, you know what I'm saying, like what it looks like. It's just consistent. Like, and I still have my peace, and I have and I have my morals intact. That's,
Right.
you can't beat that. That's success.
That's definitely success. I concur wholeheartedly. Throughout history in American music, and especially among Black creators, you know, Europe has been like a bastion of success and acceptance for creators from the big band sound era to the vaudeville players and things like that. And it still seems to be continuing today. So you've toured internationally, including Europe. And that's why I asked this question. How do you perceive the global audiences compared to fans stateside?
I want to be honest and say that I've definitely got more. I feel a little more supportive at shows out there. Um, the shows like were way more packed than they've been in the States, at least for me at this point. I've had packed shows before, but like the love was just different out there. And they spend money on merch. Like I sold a lot of merch out there. So, I don't know. That's a win-win for me.
Hey, it has proven, from Cap Calloway, Basie, you know, all of them have told the same story, about the success in Europe and the acceptance of, the culture. And hip hop obviously is the powerhouse across.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm just happy that you it hasn't changed. They're generational fans, I think. Like Asia, and Europe, if you get fans, they pass you down to
Hmm.
the next generations. They share.
Yep. Yep.
Here it's still microwave, like, and
Yeah.
look, let's be honest. We're here in America are in the era of babies raising babies. And
Hmm.
so you got, microwave bottle formula, you got microwave dishes, you got everything that's
Hmm.
quick, fast, and a hustle, plus the 140 character communication type,
Hmm.
right? To really go to Europe, somebody who's going to ask you a bunch of questions, read the freaking liner notes, want to know about the experience of the studio that you recorded in, and
Yeah.
the third, they have an interest in the artist and the personality
Hmm.
of the stuff
Yeah.
that they're enjoying. I think they have a better connection. And
Hmm.
that's just me. Like I said, I don't make music, but I just hear this consistent story. Doesn't matter,
Yeah.
big band sound to George Clinton to you now.
Yeah.
It's all. So, this might seem like a redundant, like a recap on something you already said earlier on.
Hmm.
It's in my script, so let me ask this question. And if you say, you could always say asked and answered, right? Um, what role does Buffalo play in your identity as an artist? And how has the local scene shaped your sound and storytelling?
What role Buffalo plays in my story, in my storytelling?
Your sound and storytelling, yeah.
Like I said, the grittiness. Like that is a part of Buffalo, and you could just hear it. Even if you hear a Buffalo artist over a different beat, you can still hear the grittiness in their voice and the things they saying. I feel like, I'm not trying to be dramatic, but I feel like it's certain things that, being from Buffalo, and this was anywhere, like, but when you're from Buffalo, it's certain things that you can say that only people from Buffalo would say. You know what I'm saying? And I think
Right,
that's like
right,
it anywhere. Same thing with West Coast, but that's really what shaped my sound. Um, like I said, when the industry was heavy on this Atlanta sound, like I said, we still was keeping it authentic. Like, I can honestly tell you, like, from 2014, it was showcases I was going to and performing at, where, like, the boom bap sound, drumless, all of that was a thing. Like, um, at these showcases with local artists, like, or they just rapping some real stuff. So that's always a thing, and that's something that shaped my sound. for
Yeah.
me, you know.
Okay. I love it. You're a true polymorph, rapper, producer, storyteller, and now new mother. You're navigating
Mhm.
this maze not only of the business industry, but parenthood and exploration of a new side of yourself. How do you manage the creative balance and still push boundaries?
Um, that's a good question. How do I manage the creative balance without pushing balance? Pushing.
And
Um,
pushing boundaries. Mhm.
pushing boundaries. I'm inspired by a lot of different artists I listen to. I listen to things like my friend. They asked me what streaming platform the other day. They asked me what streaming platform I use. I said I don't use none. I don't listen to music.
Mhm.
I stopped doing that years ago because it was stifling to my creative process. I felt
Mhm.
like, um, I'm listening to a lot of podcasts. If I do listen to music, I explore different genres. I listen to jazz. I've been to jazz festivals with my husband, and we're there enjoying ourselves on a personal trip. During a personal time. But I'm also studying. I'm working in my mind, like I'm listening to different sounds.
Mhm.
Being a producer as well too will push you in that way to push boundaries more because I'm listening to way more music than a rapper who doesn't produce will listen to. You get what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So, yeah, that's what pushes me, in my opinion,
Mhm.
to try. Like, I may put a record on and I hear something in the record. I'm like, oh, I'm about to put that in the song. That's the creative process, and that's what I push boundaries at, trying different sounds that my fan base may not used to hearing me on.
Mhm.
But being a producer, you have a better ear for production than an average rapper would have. I don't care what nobody say because you're sitting listening to way more music than an average rapper will listen to. Producer listens to way more music because we have to create beats. So when you're wearing both hats, you're bound to come up with something. It's going to enhance your creative process, and it's also going to push you to the point where you're pushing boundaries more for sure.
They only gave me 40 minutes with you, but you just like have sparked another 6 hours worth of conversation messing with me. You're amazing, amazing. Um, so, but that one did spark like it because I always ask this question. You kind of answered it for me. I was gonna ask, um, with all the sounds that you hear and create and the music that you made, are you still able to just vibe out to music as a consumer, or has that experience been jaded for you? And are you always analyzing? You kind of just answered that, saying you and your husband are out at a jazz festival,
Yeah, I'm always
feeling,
analyzing.
and
It's
you're
hard not to. I could be watching a movie and I'm
uh,
working in my head. That's just a
right,
part of being a creator.
right.
We get inspired by anything. So we're all always going in our mind, even when we don't even realize we're going.
Mm,
That's a part of that's one thing that my brain is wired to as a creator. I could be watching a movie and I didn't thought of a bar or thought of an idea and I gotta write it down real quick.
man, if I keep talking to you, the questions are just going to keep coming. This is like
Mhm.
I'm sitting at the feet of freaking Basquiat and asking, how are you creating these stories, visual, and I'm getting these visuals of like God being a fly on the wall, watching you just move through life and then watching. So with that question, and then I have just one more after. Um,
Mhm.
what has been the wildest like creative spark moment? Something that just a song came out of it out of nowhere. Do you have a story that you remember like, I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden this came out of that?
It's been so I have so much music out, so I'm trying to think. Um,
I watched a song get
I'm sure
created
there
at a
has
domino
been.
game. And that's why I asked. They were playing dominoes. Somebody said something slick. Whoop, whoop, and then somebody retorted and it became a hook. And they left the domino game and went into the booth. I watched
Yeah,
it. I'm going,
it happens. It's definitely happened to me like that. It's been like I'm just trying to think. Um, I'm sure there has. Like I went through this a lot during the pandemic,
Okay.
where like, when I was in the house, I was watching a lot of movies. I got a song called Divine Knowledge, and I think the hook came from I wouldn't say it came from, it was inspired by something somebody said in a movie I was watching. I can't remember. It's so much. I have so much music and I'm always inspired like that. I don't really go into the studio or write unless I'm inspired. So um but I've definitely have had moments. I just can't pinpoint nothing exactly right now.
It's all good. It's all good. I'll get in touch with your team and be like, did she think about that question? I want
Hmm.
send it to me
Yeah.
on text. You can just
Hmm.
via the email. I'll come back to it. Um,
Yeah.
my final official question. Um, what do you hope the color chocolate 2 says about where you are now and where you're going next?
I hope it displays growth, shows that I am in a peaceful place. I am um in a mature place. I'm in a place in my life where I've spent 5 years building my foundation of my music label, my business, and now I'm ready to scale it up and take it to another level. So that's why you hear the growth and maturity and the, different sounds that you weren't probably hearing before from me. You're hearing that because I'm at that point in my career where I'm comfortable enough to do that. Um, and where I'm at in the future, just continuing to grow, getting bigger, um, reaching bigger stages, reaching different countries. I just said I want to go, I want to visit South Africa.
Mm,
I have a fan base out there in Johannesburg,
mhm,
Nigeria, all of these different places. I have a huge fan base and a huge market out there. I want to go out there and do a show and record some music.
mhm.
Um, you're gonna see, like, Che Noir just being at the place where she's ready to take her career and her life to the next level. I have a daughter now, so she put a different perspective in me.
Right.
The biggest thing that she did for me was she helped me learn to forgive people that have hurt me. Because I was a big person on that held grudges. I held grudges.
You Gemini?
And my mom used to always tell me, she's like, you young, you get older, you're gonna realize that it takes more energy hating and holding on to that than it does letting it go. And my mom said that to me one day. And when I got pregnant, I reflected. And, I let a lot of that go because, like I said to you earlier, I realized when motherhood is bigger than just the financial aspects you could provide for a child. You want to be a better individual for that child. So you hear all of that growth through my music now, even in the future. I talk about that a lot in my music because that was something I struggled with my whole life. I did not forgive people, but I learned to do that. And you can hear that, you can hear the maturity, motherhood, parenthood in general, but I can only speak about being a mother.
Right.
It just puts a different sense of realization on you that I've never experienced in my life before. So, it was the best thing that could have happened to me. It honestly saved me
Mm,
from myself in a lot of ways. It matured me and it motivated me to want to be better. And I love the person I am today. I
mm,
love it.
mm. Look, I am 4 minutes over your time.
Hmm.
I appreciate I appreciate your patience with me.
Hmm.
There's so much more I hope we could do a part 2.
Oh yes, 100%.
Okay. I will I'm gonna reach out to them. Elizabeth, you can make a note of that. Don't come on, but make it
You
make a
got it.
note of that. I this is a human being that I just gotta have a part 2 with. That's it. And it doesn't have to be right away. I know that you're busy and I want you to,
Yeah.
acclimate yourself to your motherhood. Like I said, I'm a father of 6, a grandfather of 15.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, right.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Okay. Uh,
Yeah.
my youngest is going to college. It's been beautiful, but
Oh man, your youngest. Yeah, that's beautiful.
yeah, yeah,
That's life, though. That's life.
yeah. But I'm not happy, because I miss her. Uh,
Mm,
I miss her.
gotcha.
Special,
Nah, I understand.
special kid, special kid. I want
Yeah.
to thank you. Was there anything you wanted to cover that I may have neglected?
No, I feel like this was a good talk.
Okay, thank you. You know, for me,
Mm-hmm.
it went from interview to conversation, and
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy that difference. Much respect to you.
Mm-hmm.
I wish you much continued success, and I definitely look forward to the part two. All right, everybody.
Thank
Che Noir, The Color
you.
Chocolate 2 is out now. She's got a new album pending, which she didn't share us the title of, and I'm gonna respect that. G16 classified.
Coming soon, though. You guys are here.
Yeah, but know that you have, a fan and a supporter. Most definitely. I'm and a
Appreciate you.
sponsor. I'm the guy who's going to run my mouth about you when you're not in the room. So
That's beautiful.
that part, I really appreciate your time, your patience, and until next time, the Hype Magazine live sessions. We're out.
Appreciate you. Take care.
Appreciate y'all.
As an artist, we should reflect the time.
Why you so talented?
Cause I'm black.
Why you so amazing?
Cause I'm black.
It's really important that we build characters so that people understand their story matters.
2 Chainz and I both are just really into good food.
And when you know you are royalty, you will only aim in life to be royalty.
We're doing it right now. I don't give a damn what they say about me. Yes, I called your ass out. I know I shouldn't be saying this kind of.
Shout out the Hype Magazine Network.
Shout out to the Hype Magazine Network.